Well, the thing that I didn't appreciate is just how crazy and insulting and like just insane people got because I dared to be a social democrat and not a full-blown socialist.
So, Hassan, newsflash, you absolute tootsie roll. You're the biggest political streamer in the world. You don't get to use that excuse. You don't get to go, ooh, oopsie doodle, turns out I accidentally spread misinformation about civilian die-ins, XOXO. Make sure you tune in tomorrow where I cover more breaking news and more misinformation that fuels stochastic terrorism worldwide.
It frankly disturbed me.
Hassan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan a capitalistic pig. Hassan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan a class traitor. Hassan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan a Zionist, and Hassan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan and his wife members of the IDF. All of these things about Ethan are untrue. All of these things were allowed to run rampant. Since I'm something of a YouTube sensation now, I figured I ought to keep inserting my opinion into similar content to what I cover on stream, but in a YouTube format with the kind of dedication that these topics deserve. Welcome, friends. Let's talk about the Leftovers podcast being paused, and the beef between Ethan, whom I'll also refer to as H3H3 at various points in the video, and Hasan, the biggest political Twitch streamer in the world, and a spineless fuck extraordinaire, which has caused this pause. This video is by no means comprehensive, and while I will try and make the timeline make sense, it's best if you're kind of already aware of the general gist of things. Do enjoy. Ethan and Hasan have dedicated some episodes of the Leftover podcast to cover the current Israel-Palestine conflict. Ethan spoke out against Hamas and their actions, Hamas being a religious extremist terrorist organization known for using Palestinian citizens as human shields and setting up their bases of operation in civilian buildings to ensure maximum carnage against Israel hunting them down. Same Hamas who recently were the force responsible for a terror attack on October 7th, where they shot up a music festival, leaving 270 civilians massacred, with additional reports of multiple women kidnapped, raped, and then butchered. Now, all of that being said, Hamas is not a democratic force, nor are they particularly loved in Palestine. They're in power because they're feared, not because they're supported. Meaning that none of what I just mentioned is an excuse for Israel to carpet bomb civilians, enact mass punishment, such as cutting off electricity and water to the entire region, which is a war crime by the way, or being essentially an apartheid state. If in this entire mess you find yourself allied with not some bullshit flag to put in your Twitter bio to try and turn your worthless existence into a virtue signal, but instead with the civilians, on the grounds, while being considered acceptable collateral damage, then you'll be glad to hear that you not only have an ally in me, because let's be real, an 80 subs VTuber in your corner ain't exactly the big guns, but you have an ally in Ethan, whom this video is all about. Here is Ethan's take about this conflict all the way back from 2021. The Israeli government is making me sick. Even if Hamas is operating out of a civilian building, it doesn't justify the total destruction of that building. It's inhumane. Netanyahu is a piece of shit warmonger and needs to go. As a dual citizen, I love Israel and the Israeli people. They deserve a government that actually believes in peace and not force and violence. The ultra-right Jewish settlers are among the greatest provocateurs in the world. They are shameless and hateful, fueled by religious zeal and enabled by the Israeli government. I wish the settling and repossession of Palestinian land would stop. I wish the bombing in Gaza would stop. Gazans deserve to live life free of fear. For all of the crimes Hamas has committed, we must always remember that they are not Palestine. The Israeli government holds all of the power, and it is on them to stop the violence and show a true willingness of peace. As you can see, Ethan has a history of standing with the Palestinian people and speaking against Zionism and civilian death. So then you might wonder, if that's the case, and Hasan is very explicitly allied with Palestine, why the drama, right? In this video, we'll focus on the two reasons for why. One of them being Hasan's status as a spineless fuck terrified of any kind of accountability, and the other being the growing extremist movement on the left. Now, before we jump into it, what I believe is tremendously important to keep in mind is that Hasan and Ethan aren't just business partners, they're not just some random people on the internet. To one another, they're friends. And it's the word friends I want you to keep in mind when we watch clips of how Hasan and his community have been treating Ethan, and how Ethan responds to it. Let's get into it, shall we? There is an immense number of people on the left who, following the Hamas terror attack, have awoken from their slumber like sleeper agents and have come out of the woodwork, donned their hammer and sickle logo, and proceeded to refer to the attackers and Hamas itself as freedom fighters doing what is necessary to push back against the evil Zionist apartheid state of Israel. There was also another set of people who, make no mistake, in my mind fall in the exact same camp, but happen to be a spoonful smarter regarding optics, do not explicitly align with Hamas, but will refuse to condemn their actions, engaging in hardcore parkour of a variety so advanced it would put Michael Scott to shame, all to not utter the word terrorists when talking about Hamas. If you'd like to hear more about this specifically, and there's a segment from my Twitch stream uploaded directly to YouTube on my channel called Hamas and the Idiots Who Support It. In an interest of keeping this video short enough for my fellow grass touchers to have the time to watch it, I will not go into details when there's already a 1.5 hour video dedicated to this exact sentiment. I will only add that since the uploading of that video, this extremism has only gotten worse, with all of the misinformation being spread by Hasan and his ilk. The reality of these people existing resulted in Ethan engaging a number of other content creators and just random people on Twitter in fights and debates about their apparent approval of Hamas, one of the most prominent fights being with Frogan, another rather big content creator. Now, I am a huge fan of accountability and apologising for when you've gone too far, as Ethan has a fair few times during this entire shit show, and as a fellow content creator, I also have the wits to know that it's only a matter of time until I myself fuck up, and will have to bang out 1 or 2 Twitter apologies. It saddens me, however, that bottom-of-the-barrel, brave Twitter warriors like Frogan will take being apologised to as an opportunity to attack the person even more. Let's be clear, in this entire shit show, Ethan was in the right, and Frogan's bizarre and quite frankly racist behaviour was beneath the kind of discourse that we ought to strive for, and the fact that Ethan felt what I assume is pressured into apologising someone like that is genuinely angering. Now, I will go over this timeline real quick, just because, you know what, it's a good idea for us to know what happened here. So Frogan published a tweet, which was reasonably interpreted by many as pro-Hamas, the tweet you can see on screen right now. Then she tried weaving a narrative that people only think that because of racism, which is the tweet you can see on screen right now. Then she was actually racist in her bizarre attempts to defend herself, as per the tweet you've seen on screen now. And then finally, after Ethan apologised, she tried beating him on the head with his apology. She is bottom of the barrel in terms of both moral character and ethical framework that guides her. She's also, quite frankly, a bit of a cunt. This same variety of extremists, who are by and large tankies, go figure, have already been going after H3H3 ever since he debated socialism with Hasan. Well, perhaps it would have been a good idea to start here. This beef is what I believe set precedents for Ethan's treatment. Ethan, being surprisingly pleasantly rooted in reality, argued against some, to him, confusing parts of socialism with Hasan. Now, Hasan being the single biggest political streamer in the Western world, and a self-proclaimed socialist, you'd think would be more than equipped to handle someone like Ethan, who in many ways is a politics newbie, asking some clarifying questions. He couldn't. And also, to be clear, this argument didn't even end with Ethan celebrating the glory and the evils of capitalism, as throughout he was advocating for social democracy, a system much more akin to the Nordics, which, unlike the socialist utopia that Hasan advocates for, actually fucking exists. Now, understanding that Ethan argued for social democracy, both his community, by and large radicalized by Hasan, but we'll talk about that a tad bit later, and Hasan's community reacted to him by calling him a class traitor, which, I mean, makes no sense because number one, he's not working class, and number two, he wasn't advocating for anything anti-working class. Now, if you have the time, I would highly encourage you to watch this episode in full, and in the meantime, this was Ethan's take on it afterwards.
Well, the thing that I didn't appreciate is just how crazy and insulting and like just insane people got because I dared to be a social democrat and not a full-blown socialist. I was called a class traitor, I guess. I'm not radical enough for you, then you've got no allies. Zero. You have zero allies.
He feels...
Now, I've straight up stolen this clip from a channel dedicated to Abba and Preach, so I'll leave Abba's face on screen for a few seconds and encourage you to sub to their channel. But on the note of the video, Ethan is absolutely, resoundingly 100% correct. If you're the type of socialist who thinks social democrats are not on your side and who are class traitors, then I am glad you have absolutely no real life politics influence. And I am glad that the best you'll ever be able to do is make bizarre fucking posts on Twitter, you absolute imbecile. And if you're a normal-ass socialist who just wants better for the working class and is tired of the ever-growing economic disparity between the top 1% and the rest of the world, I know you exist. I wish you all the best. And I need you to know that people like Hasan will never get us there. Remembering the earlier segment about Hasan's and his community's reaction to Ethan, at this point you might say, hey Chris, most of these could be explained by Hasan's community being unhinged rather than him himself. To that I would say you are correct. Not only are you correct, the narrative being woven by many seems kinda disingenuous, as it shows a clip of Ethan talking about how bad he feels as a result of the comments he's seeing, but it cuts out the prior part where Ethan makes it clear that a lot of these comments come from Hasan's unofficial Discord he isn't even a part of. So it feels weird to criticize Hasan for this, right? Wrong. Now, this gets a bit confusing, so bear with me. This is specifically what Ethan had to say about that Discord.
Hasan's Discord, which is not associated with him, he's not in there, he has nothing to do with it. But the people in there, the people who are in that Discord, I saw everything you guys said. It was recorded, sent to me during our whole episode on the Gaza-Israel conflict. What I saw in that Discord was near universal praise for Hamas, near universal saying people deserved it, near universal people saying dudes who's like the hang gliders came in and showed him what's up, people saying he's spitting facts, near universal. People near universally calling me a Zionist pig, fucking mass murdering genocidal freak. And if you want to know the truth, that shit fucked me up seeing that Discord, because it made me realize that a lot of these people are watching this show, and it frankly disturbed me.
In my opinion, and I will allow myself to do a little bit of armchair psychology, Ethan is only blaming that specific Discord because it 1. Abdicates Hasan of responsibility, and 2. Because Hasan might have downplayed what that Discord actually is. Ethan seems like the kind of dude who'd do that for his friend. To the best of my understanding, however, and again this is strange to wrap your head around, this unofficial Discord is about as official as it gets. This appears to be the original Hasan Discord that got privated and stopped accepting new members with doors wide open. This also appears to be the Discord where the moderators respond to Hasan directly, as in he can control what goes on there, he just chooses not to. Now, as for why Ethan said it the way he did, maybe he just mixed up the details or misremembered them for no particular reason. Maybe he was purposely trying to downplay the degree to which Hasan was officially associated with the Discord in order to insulate him from blame. Or maybe he was misled by how Hasan characterized his own Discord in the past. Now, this is Hasan after all, so it shouldn't be that much of a surprise that he'd minimize his own role whenever his Discord becomes a problem. For instance, let's see what he had to say in the past about it.
From what I understand, and again, I don't really pay too much attention to what's going on, because I don't really, like I said, it's supposed to be for this community by members from this community. So, like, I don't even want to think about it.
From this community, for this community. Thus, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Hasan had previously characterized his Discord to Ethan in such a way that made it seem like it was way more unofficial than it really is, even if he didn't use those exact words. That being said, I will reiterate again, this is speculation on top of speculation. Ultimately, we don't know what Discord server Ethan was actually talking about with 100% certainty. My personal belief is that it was Hasan's unofficial, official Discord, in spite of what Ethan said. Although I don't think that really detracts from the relevance of Ethan characterizing it the way he did, even if he wasn't correct. But yeah, unfortunately, it's all murky enough that I can't figure out a quick and easy summary that accurately describes the issue. Hearing this, however, you might think this is a weak point, predominantly rooted in my desire to play Inspector Gadget, so it's a good thing that I've brought more stuff to show, isn't it? During one of the episodes of the podcast, Ethan turned off comments in their entirety because I'm assuming he didn't want to deal with them, so what I decided to do out of curiosity is have a look in Hasan's offline chat to kind of have a look at what the vibe is like. Here is a screenshot of people ridiculing Ethan and saying that Ethan and Hila are being selfish in their emotions and reactions. Here is another screenshot with this guy using the spitting emoji saying me talking to an Israel settler. Another one saying stop dick riding Israel, and well, the guy spamming me talking to an Israeli settler in the spitting emoji. Another one here, Ethan takes Palestinian supporters' anti-Semitism, being spammed over and over and over again. Today, the podcast is not a dialogue, but Ethan crying and putting his own feelings above everything else. Fuck him. Ethan is just tone policing. This one right here, saying that I really hope Ethan's career ends, which, unhinged. And saying that he's just playing the devil's advocate, which is not what he's doing. This one saying, Ethan, shut the fuck up, you dense motherfucker. And basically ridiculing him for going hard on people on Twitter supporting Hamas. This one saying, fuck the Israeli perspective, bro. And, in fairness, Ethan isn't giving the Israeli perspective. He's just trying to be a little bit more nuanced than most of these idiots are capable of. This one right here saying, send this fat fuck clown and his baby killer IDF wife to the front line. Now, in an interest of fairness, this is the only person that I have seen whilst in that chat have direct mod action taken against them. Now, I do not remember if this person was timed out or if they were banned, but at least something was done about this, so that's, nice, I guess. We gotta take our little victories where we can. Here, another one comparing the current situation to Jews and the Holocaust, and just being, as about unhinged as you'd expect. Here is one saying stop with the mutual empathy. Here's someone poking fun at his wife, Ethan's wife, being a member of the IDF, or saying that she's a member of the IDF rather, insinuating that, I suppose. Now, these came directly from Hasan's chat, not from his unofficial Discord. Now, you can make a fair argument and say that these are taken from the offline chat, where the moderation is expected to be more lax, and that would be a fair point to bring up. And to that, I'd say that I encourage you to check out any of those names in his chat and see that they aren't banned or weren't punished, because this is the vibe resoundingly clear in his entire community. Vibe made all the more clear by Ethan's reaction and his decision to pause the podcast. Now, Hasan has a good history of abdicating responsibility without needing anyone's help and wanting to eat his cake and have it too, by simultaneously donning the mantle of a political commentator, engaging in shaping the minds of future voters, claiming that he's paved it on his own, whilst also claiming that he's just an internet weirdo, not a leader of any kind of a movement, and really just a dude who doesn't even cover breaking news. Now, there is a track record of this behavior so aggressively visible that Stevie Wonder would be able to spot it. We've already seen one video a minute ago of him doing exactly that, so what other examples do we have? He did that recently during his conversation with Piers Morgan.
And this is not just my perspective on the matter. I'm just a dumb idiot with a Twitch stream who is live reacting to the news and trying to make sense of everything as it's ongoing. I usually have a policy of not covering breaking news, and sometimes that policy is violated, but ultimately I am not held up by the same journalistic standards, even though I think I do a much better job than most other news outlets in general.
And he did it some time ago during his appearance on the Deprogram podcast.
Ultimately, though, it's just I'm an entertainer. I'm an entertainer first. I'm not a revolutionary activist. I'm not a leader in the movement.
He did it a number of times before on his stream and various appearances. These were but 3 examples of something that happens over and over and over again. So, Hasan, Newsflash, you absolute tootsie roll. You're the biggest political streamer in the world. You don't get to use that excuse. You don't get to go, ooh, oopsie doodle, turns out I accidentally spread misinformation about civilian die-ins, XOXO. Make sure you tune in tomorrow where I cover more breaking news and more misinformation that fuels stochastic terrorism worldwide. Streaming politics is your day job. It is actually astounding to me that the same dude who was tricked multiple times by being sent clips from Arma, the video game, and believed it's actual war footage, still has the confidence to try and guess what kind of a missile is being fired at Palestinians by the sound of the whistling it makes from a phone recording. Hasan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan a capitalistic pig. Hasan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan a class traitor. Hasan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan a Zionist, and Hasan did not reel his community in when they were calling Ethan and his wife members of the IDF. All of these things about Ethan are untrue. All of these things were allowed to run rampant by Hasan. It wasn't until after Ethan announced the pause and leftovers that the Lord Hasan himself decided maybe it's time to tell my supporters that calling someone I consider a genuine friend X, Y, and Z is a bit much. That's of course assuming that Hasan actually considers Ethan a friend. Now, if at any point in my hopefully coherent speech you felt like writing a comment which reads something like, "Wow, much disingenuous, Chris, Hasan has no control over the fan Discord," I do still want you to write it down, but instead do it on a piece of paper, roll it up, dip it in olive oil, and then shove it up your fucking ass. Now, the third secret reason for why this got so out of control is that when you make your bed, you sleep in it. Whether knowingly or not, as content creators, we foster a specific type of an audience based on our content. Some people veil their actual political positions to have a broader appeal, some hold their beliefs out in the open to give a sense of who they are. Being a full-time content creator is, I imagine, both the easiest and most fun and the single most difficult job in existence. In many ways, Ethan's current predicament was set in motion by Ethan himself. He's got a bit of a history now of catering to extremists and realising it a spoonful too late, as he already has done once in the past regarding his own community. The reason why this segment of the video is rather short is because I do believe that Ethan in his coverage of Israel and Palestine tried doing right by his own ethics, and he does genuinely consider Hasan a friend. I don't much blame him for the situation getting out of control. Usually when you consider someone to be your friend, you don't expect them to be disgusting two-faced scum, so you don't account for what it will feel like when they turn out to be just that. It is what it is. That'll be it for this video. We've already gone on for longer than I had anticipated, and if you've enjoyed this long, thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and if you want to be an absolute gem, leave a comment too. If you disagree with anything I said, also leave a comment. I do like fighting with people. If you'd like to talk to me or just watch me talk in general, follow me on Twitch as well. I'm usually there live 3 times a week. Thank you, good night, and do remember, if you want to talk on the internet about a current geopolitical conflict, just remember to always say that you're just a random dude on the internet, and then you can spread misinformation with no consequence.